Hi everyone, this is Hillary Ellers and I'm coming to you from Lightworks Studio. I want to tell you one thing before we even get started. I have my little dog Mamie with me, and she's usually my shadow, and she's sick, and she has been coughing, and I hope you'll understand. I don't want to put her out of the room and lock her away from us. So we'll see if we can work with it today and find out. Today I'm going to be bringing you a lesson about what I call the 3 urges of consciousness. And this is something that relates to all life, all conscious beings, that we are all stimulated in a way and urged internally toward certain actions, certain behaviors. And you might think of it almost like instinct, although I think of it as a much more refined process than instinct. The urges of consciousness, I feel, keep us all on track, so to speak. My feeling is that one day this actually just came to me. It's like I just had this idea that these urges of consciousness existed and that they influence us all and affect us. And the more I've worked with these ideas, the more solid they feel to me, and I hope they'll be useful to you. First, I'm going to just name them, and then we're going to talk about them. The first urge of consciousness is to connect. So all conscious beings, in my opinion and in my feelings, have an urge to connect with each other. The second urge of consciousness is to create. And I consider myself a very creative person. I love to draw. I like to paint. I use acrylics. I like needlework, what else do I do? I write. I teach. That's creative. But there are lots and lots of things I enjoy doing that are creative. And I've thought a lot about it. If I didn't have those creative outlets, I feel that I would really be not nearly as happy as I am. And when I feel a little depressed or down, one of the first things I think about is, what can I do in a creative way? Because I know that that will pull me up and help me to feel happy. The third urge of consciousness is to complete. And for me, what that means is we come out of the Creator. We are born, literally, from the Creator. And we're going to go into detailed lessons about everything I'm saying. We're going to go into much more depth than I'll be covering today. So we are born and we start a journey, and this journey takes us through every dimension, every level, every possible state of being, until finally we return to the Creator. And when we return, we are more than we were when we left. And we are greater. We have more wisdom. We have more awareness. we have more light. So as we return to the Creator, being more light-filled, the Creator itself grows. And I have the feeling that God is not a stagnant being, but that God is growing even as we are growing. And that as we grow, that growth is reflected into our Creator. So, what about the urge we feel to connect, to communicate, to even, and this I think is one of the most important parts of this urge, to cooperate. And I lump all those together. People probably might disagree with me that this is a process, our lives, in which we are learning to create and learning to cooperate, learning to connect. My feeling is that there's a pull we each feel to not be alone. And often people in their consultations with me or the readings I do will talk to me about partnership and wanting to have a significant other in their lives, or in general, even beyond partnership. Many people feel lonely. And I feel it is a very, very deep need we have to connect. So now, regarding our drive, our urge, our pull to connect, let's talk about partnership. You know, most people, when they have a reading from me, ask about their partners or their loved ones or people they connect to. And particularly around partnership or marriage, something of that nature, people very, very often ask me, am I with the quote-unquote right person? Is this person right for me? And it's kind of funny in a way to me, and it would be funnier if it weren't serious, you know, because of course our partnerships affect so much of our lives. But people, I feel, have the idea that if they're with the right person, they will be happy. The right person will somehow make them happy. And what I have come to believe is that we are not really with a particular person to be happy. We have been drawn into partnership in order to be stimulated to grow. And we're drawn to the people who will help us grow the most. That doesn't really mean that we have to have a relationship full of drudgery, but it doesn't also indicate, neither does it indicate that we're drawn to a person because it's going to somehow make our lives wonderful. And I always feel that partnership and relationship period is one of the very biggest arenas of growth for all of us. So we're all being given an opportunity to grow through the relationships we attract into our lives. So connecting, I feel, and I put it first, not really that it's most important, but I think it is a tremendously deep urge we all have. Now, it's interesting because some people seem to prefer to be alone. That's always somewhat of a mystery to me. And I do think opposites do tend to attract. I feel really an extrovert. My partner is, at least he claims to be, pretty much of an introvert. And in many ways, I think he is. And even for people who are introverts, I feel on a deep soul level, they have a pull to connect to other souls. And we have that resonance that we can experience. Now, so I'm talking about connecting, creating, and completing. Let's say a little more about the completing. Completion for me means that when we are born into light and activity from the deep stillness of the God, we move into a journey in which we begin to discover everything possible about ourselves. We begin to discover all of our potentials. We begin to discover what we are capable of. We begin to discover more and more wisdom. And so, as we go around this big journey, this big circle, and we'll have more lessons about this, I call it involution and evolution. And the involution is the arc in which each soul is coming from the Creator down into whatever is the most dense level they encounter. For us as humans, it's being a human. This is the densest point we come to. And here we make a turn and we start lightening up and we start working our way back up to the Creator. And that is what is referred to as the evolutional journey. My feeling is that in that journey, we have so many opportunities. In fact, one opportunity after another opportunity, and so on, to grow and to learn. And I remember years ago when I was first starting to study metaphysics, I had a girlfriend, and something happened that was disturbing in her life. I don't even recall what that was. But she was thinking about it, and she said, I wonder what I can learn from this. And I was so amazed. I'd never heard anyone say that. I had always heard, why is this happening? Which may be another way to say the same thing. But to me, why is this happening, to me, puts us in a kind of victim role. Like, oh my God, you know, what's this about? I've been a good person. I'm doing my best. Why is this awful thing happening in my life? But she said, what have I done that has attracted this, and what can I learn from it? I feel that's the most important question you can ask yourself regarding any and every experience you have. What can I learn from this? And when we examine that, at first, a lot of understandings will be invisible to us. It's like we may want to know, you know, what can I learn? And we may not be very clear about it. And it may take us a while to ask that question, maybe even over and over. One of the things I do is I pray for understanding. And I pray for understanding so that I can make the best use of my life experiences. My sense is that if you will ask yourself what you can learn, it will change many, many times. It totally shifts what seems like a negative to a positive. And in the beginning, a lot of understanding of what we can learn may seem almost invisible, like we're reaching for something and we just can't find it or don't know it or don't understand it. But after a certain amount of time in the search, after a certain amount of time in the journey of looking deeper, then an understanding will begin to come through for you. So one of the things I feel that's very hard for people to understand or believe even is that all humans and all life has an urge to cooperate with other life. And people will say, well, why is the earth in such a mess if we have the urge to cooperate? My feeling is that these pulls, these urges, are unconscious until we reach a certain level of awareness. You are unconsciously cooperating with everyone and everything around you. And after a while, if you observe this enough, your actions and reactions, your level of cooperation will begin to become visible. And so will other people's. Let me give you an example. You know, relationships have their ups and downs, as we all know. When we're on the upside, it's a glorious thing. Isn't it just glorious? It's lovely. When we're on the downside, it's really tough. It can really, really be painful. And when I am in a very painful place with any relationship I'm involved with, when I ask myself, what can I learn from this? I begin to see that there are opportunities for me to change myself. And I also feel that's one of the things we really can get into, almost indignantly get into, that the other person needs to be different. If only they would, and then fill in the blank. Then things would go well. You know, we wouldn't have all these problems. Rather than looking outside yourself for the change to happen and expecting it should happen, I'm challenging you to look inside yourself and to ask yourself literally, what can I change? Or even, what do I need to change? What are my opportunities to change? And in observing that, a whole new world can open up for you, a whole new doorway into life as you've never experienced it. It can bring a satisfaction, a sense of deeper meaning and purpose, looking inside. It's so interesting because I feel that that is one of the beginning points for all of us when we are young souls, when we're first on the journey toward wisdom, is that we always look outside ourselves like that needs to be different. You need to be different, you know? And again, with indignation, righteous indignation at that. So my suggestion is that you look deeper. Go deeper. Don't look out here so much. Look inside, because what is inside you is creating what is outside you. And your actions, no matter how unconscious they may be, or conscious for that matter, your actions, your attitudes, your beliefs are all creating what you experience in your life. Sometimes I work with clients for a long time and they come back, and it's almost like, I would say, spiritual therapy. And we do spiritual therapy. And sometimes the people that I work with, and I work with them on and on or for quite a while, some of the times they are in such deep pain. It's so, makes me so sad at times to see the pain they are in, how deep that pain is, because their lives are not making them happy. And I'm working with the client now that I've worked with for a very long time. And I've asked him to write a little bit, just a little bit, about what his meaning or purpose is in this lifetime. Because he's in, at times, he is in such deep pain about his life. And it's interesting, he hasn't written about it yet, which says to me there's something there that is either so confusing to him he doesn't know how to write about it, or it's so scary to him he can't write about it. Something, I mean, the very fact that he hasn't done this, to me, says a lot in regards to his journey. Look at your journey and pay more attention to what makes you happy, and notice more that it is actually an inner reality that makes you happy. It's not just that you're in a good mood that day. I mean, that's sort of an inner reality. But it runs deeper than that. When you are happy, when you are feeling purposeful, when you feel meaning, when you feel whatever brings you a sense of fulfillment or satisfaction, begin to pay more attention to what it is inside you that you're holding, that is enabling you to have that satisfaction. So your beliefs, your actions can begin to become more conscious. They won't be so unconscious. These urges of consciousness will begin to be more clear to you as they're in action in your life. And you will begin to realize that you are attracting, you are actually attracting into your life exactly what you need. And oh my gosh, people have a fit when I say that. Or I will say to people, everything is always right. And people just, oh boy, I think it actually makes them angry in a way. And what I want to say in that is that every experience has its meaning and purpose for you. It's like a tool you're being given that you can use. You can learn how to use it. And if you learn how to use it, it will change your life. So the most difficult circumstance is present for you to help you sprout your wings and fly. And they're right there. Maybe yours are already sprouted. Maybe you're like a little baby bird and you just have a few feathers and you're flapping around, but you can't leave to fly out free yet. Or maybe you've been soaring, and all of that happens as you make use of these tools, which are the circumstances of your life. Sometimes I think it's easy to not know why you've really attracted the people or the circumstances that you're experiencing. So I just encourage you to keep on observing, keep on being a witness to your own truth, because through that observation, through that willingness to be aware, you will begin to gain wisdom. And you'll begin to be able to work with the circumstances of your life in a way that is easier, less confusing. Now, what about creating? Let's talk about that a little. That's one of these other urges of consciousness. There is a natural effect. It's just as natural as daylight and nighttime. It's just as natural as rain. There is an absolutely natural effect that happens, that your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions have an immense effect in the physical world. Now, it's easier for people to see that their actions have effects. I feel for many people it's harder to see or feel or know that your actual thoughts, your feelings have effect in the physical world. And scientifically, this is becoming more known or accepted, and on a scientific level. One of the things that happens is that if a scientist is not, let's say, unbiased, they will affect the outcome of an experiment. If you are not unbiased, you are affecting the outcome of your life. And it's hard to be unbiased. I mean, what that really means is in acceptance. I had a dear, oh my gosh, a dear girlfriend who passed a number of years ago. And we were, you know, just, well, we went to the same kindergarten together. But we weren't always connected. It was an off and on connection. And then later, we became solidly connected. And we were very much sisters. One of the things, our top saying, we had little sayings, you know. Our top saying, acceptance is everything. And I do really believe that you're going through all these experiences. If you feel your experience is wrong, it's very difficult to learn from it. When you're angry about your experience, you're angry about your life, it's very, very hard to change, because you have to go inside yourself and calm that storm before you can change what's out here. And in fact, the storm itself may be creating what's unpleasant that you're living through. So know that whether you are conscious that you're creating or you're unconsciously creating, you're always creating. Always. I like to talk about my friends. But I don't mention their names, so I have a friend who just has the hardest time making decisions. And I mean, this person, oh my gosh, he is the sweetest, sweetest man. But he suffers. He literally suffers when he's trying to make many decisions. And part of what he gets caught up in is, I feel, a kind of fear. I imagine that probably his fear is he's going to make a mistake. He's going to make a choice that doesn't make him happy. But what's really interesting, I feel, is whether you make a choice or not, you're still choosing. You know, it's like whether you try to avoid a decision or not, you're still facing it, and it is still affecting your life and affecting you. So, I urge you to, as much as you can, this may sound crazy when I say it, cast caution to the wind. Just try to, because life is an experiment. We are here experimenting and learning how to become complete and whole, how to claim every attribute we have, every possibility for ourselves. And if we avoid any, or try to avoid any, of the opportunities that come to help us develop ourselves fully, we are just simply, I would say, creating unhappiness for ourselves. Try not to be afraid to take a chance, to experiment, to go ahead, dive in. You know, I say that about giving psychic readings. You know, it's a scary thing because you're, as the quote-unquote psychic, or as the intuitive, so to speak, I'm required to dive in the swimming pool before I know for sure that there's water in the pool. And so learning how to do intuitive readings has helped me to be a lot braver and willing to run a risk. And oh, get this, this is really big. Doing intuitive readings, I am definitely going to be wrong some of the time. I'm going to. And that's awfully hard, to be willing to be wrong. It's really hard. It's scary. Thank goodness this does not happen very often, but at times my clients can almost like get angry with me because of things I say or tell them. And my defense is, well, I could always be wrong. And it's sort of like, have it your way. You know, you take this in as you need to. So, many people believe we create just simply through our thinking. And I know for a long time, I don't remember when this was, maybe 70s, maybe 60s, there was a very popular thought that, just this sort of phrase, think and grow rich. Remember that when that was really out there, think and grow rich. Well, first of all, who said being rich is going to make us happy, you know? And secondly, I want to tell you, it takes more than thinking, which you probably discovered. It's not just thinking that creates. It's a combination of feelings and thinking. And I don't know if you have heard of an organization called the Heart Math Institute. It is such a great organization. This institute does all kinds of research on consciousness. And one of the things I thought was very interesting is that from a scientific point of view, this group measures the actual vibration, the frequency of the earth. And you know how there's much being said about the changing of the age. You know, we're moving from Piscean to Aquarian. And that the idea in that also is that the frequency, the vibration of the earth is changing. Heart Math Institute has proven that. They have developed a way to measure the vibration of the earth, and it's changing a lot. So I really recommend them just for great information. One of the things they have discovered is that the energy field around your heart is 1,000 times stronger than the energy field around your brain. And I feel that that suggests that the energy that comes from us into the world, the energy that comes from us that creates an influence in the world, is most strongly coming from our hearts. Our feelings, our emotions, our desires. One time, I wanted very much to have a better car than I had. And it wasn't like I wanted a glam, you know, set of wheels. This was sort of like necessity. I used to go out and pray over my car, if that gives you any... I would touch the hood and say, you know, I'm sending you energy, I'm sending you thanks, I appreciate you hanging in there with me. And early on in my life, it was very hard for me financially. You know, I was just kind of putzing along. And I had the best car at that time I could have, and it was a junker. Okay, so I decided I really needed a better car. This is how I went about it. As I drove my little junker around, here I am, driving around, I began to pretend, or we might say imagine. And boy, I'm going to drive you crazy probably talking to you about imagination, how important it is. So I began, as I'm driving, imagining I was driving a new car. And I just kept imagining. I just kept pretending the car I was driving was new. And there was a time, and I don't know that I noticed it the very first time, but maybe, at a certain point, I literally began to feel like I was driving a new car. I mean, I did. It was as if the energy of my car changed, or my relationship with my car changed, and I was driving not an old junker here. I was driving a new car. I could feel it. I could literally feel it was different. Not long after that, I went ahead and I went to a car lot to buy a car. And let me say, at that point, the chances for me to buy a car was like, not very good. I don't know percentage-wise, but it was on the downward slope here. So I talked to the people at the, car lot, and come to find out this little car had been bought. Someone kept it for 6 weeks, and they brought it back. They didn't want it. And therefore, it was more or less a new car, but it was being sold as a used car, and it was something I could afford. And it was like pretty much a miracle. If I list miracles, it's like that's one of them. I drove out with this little car, I'm driving around, and I had my little new car, and I had that car for quite a while. I drove it to death, let me tell you. I drove it, oh my God. But I created that. I literally created that. And in its own way, it was a miracle. It really was. Like practicality would have said, don't even try, you can't do it. And over here, imagination and directing my desire and my thoughts did it. I just truly, truly believe that. So I want to help you learn, as we're learning about building the lives we want to have. I want to help you learn more about creating and what that really means. So, and we're going to really go, much more into detail about manifesting and what that means as we go along through the lessons. Now, let's talk a little bit more about completing. Completing, to me, means to fulfill our highest potentials, to step into our highest potentials and live them. And as humans, we have a goal to become a complete human, whatever that means, to become a complete, full human being. And my sense is that part of that happens when you use the events and circumstances you're attracting into your life, when you use those to grow and learn. And as humans, there are, I feel, specific understandings and learnings we gain by being human. And Some of that is regulated in a way through our DNA, our actual genetics. Um, and also, this is a very important point, that none of us learn this one time around. We go in and out of life. We are born and die, and we are reborn in a new body, a different body, and we die. And again, we are born yet again, and we go in and out of cycles of birth, life, and death. And then the experiences we have on the other side in between. So know that through the journey of reincarnation, which is this process I'm talking about, in which you have many lifetimes, you have the opportunity through that to become a complete, whole human being. And through many lifetimes, you learn all that you can learn, all that you need to learn about being human. And at a certain point in your learning, you actually graduate beyond being human, and you move into what is called the kingdom of masters. And you become not just a human, but a master being. And masters are able to either stop incarnating, in other words, they don't have to stay connected to that wheel of life and death and rebirth and all. They can stay on the other side of life, or they can come back in up to a certain point. And when masters develop to the highest point, not really the highest point, it's not the best way to say that. When masters develop to a certain point, their frequency is so refined they can no longer be born in a human body. They can't match their consciousness and the energy of their consciousness with the frequency of physicalness. And so at that point, they don't come back in. They help and work from the higher levels. We'll talk more and more about all of this. But I wanted you to have a sense, and I feel in a way, these urges of consciousness are almost like a road map. They're almost like I'm handing you a map, and I'm saying, this is the journey. Let this help you. Let this help you to be more aware, because the more aware you become, the more you can make use of your journey. The more you can develop yourself through your journey. That's my encouragement to you today. I feel as you do that, you will be happier and happier. You will feel greater peace, greater contentment. You'll feel many, many good feelings as your growth expands. Thank you so much, and all my good wishes to you always. And we're going to take a break, and we'll come back for a few minutes and do a short guided meditation. Now let us go into a guided meditation. Begin now to allow yourself to feel what it feels like to breathe. Feel your breath as air now is moving in and out of your lungs. And in this moment, feel how good it feels to breathe. Every incoming breath is bringing a soothing wave of relaxation through your entire body. Every outgoing breath is carrying with it all of the tension of the day, all of the stress out and away from you. Every incoming breath is bringing a soothing wave of relaxation through your entire body. And feel your muscles relaxing. Your shoulders drop. Your muscles lengthen. And when you feel you have relaxed as much as you possibly can, find yourself relaxing even deeper. From this deeply relaxed place, you are aware of many things. Your awareness is deeper and clearer. And now, as you allow yourself to use your imagination, find yourself in a beautiful nature setting. As you are observing the beauty of the earth, imagine that you are departing this life. What do you hope to leave? What would you like to leave behind as you depart your life? What do you want your gift to the earth, to humanity, to all living things? What do you want your parting gift to be? Imagine that you are aware of what you have given the earth and humanity, what you have given all living things. Imagine that you know how to create a life that enables you to give this parting gift. And just observe without judgment. And now hold this understanding and gradually begin to return to your surface level of consciousness. Allow yourself to return to your surface level of consciousness and bring with you all that you have been aware of. When you find yourself returning, you can begin to rub your hands together, rub your legs, touch your face. And my suggestion now is write about your experience, whatever you have experienced. Thank you. All blessings.